And they tried to sell him for me for less than $100. These are the dealers. So I went back to the authorities and I said, well, here it is. This is it. Apply the law. Do your work. But of course, the response I got was not very positive. They just wanted more bribes. And in fact, after a very long discussion of 1 hour and a lot of arguments, they actually, believe it or not, tried to sell me a baby chimp. So here I was, very frustrated. I went back to my hotel room and I just couldn't sleep. I kept on thinking of this baby chimp that would die soon. And if I rescue, maybe could outlive me. And all my frustration from conservation now had a face, and this face was haunting me. I couldn't sleep, and I stayed up all night, and I wrote all my anger out on paper, and I wrote an outline. I wrote an outline of what NGOs I was hoping to find. What could have prevented this from happening? I wrote an outline for an NGO that would have a hands-on approach that would fight corruption to get this law applied. And I wrote it under the banner New Generation NGO because I wanted it to be almost the opposite from what I saw back in the capital. So I was determined to rescue this baby chimp, and in the morning I went back there and I said I must rescue him. So I went there and I went to the dealers, I put the book of law on the table and I said, here it is, 3 years imprisonment. Well, they were totally unimpressed. And then I said, well, okay, I know as well as you do that you can bribe your way out of this article using what, $2, $3? And then what I did, I tried to use the same program that I was writing the previous night and my imagination, trying to bluff them. So I said, well, this is exactly what I'm here for. You bribing your way out. Because I'm a part of a big, new international NGO, and our work is to fight corruption to get the law applied. And this is exactly what I'm here for, and sorry, but there is a car coming to take you, and my job is to make sure you do not bribe your way out. Then they got hysterical. So my bluff was working, and they were moving around, trying to convince me and plead, and at one point, after I was making myself as if I'm talking to an imaginary car on the way, I was saying, well, you know what? If you remain my informants, and you'll give me information about bigger dealers that can lead us to arrest bigger arrests, then maybe I can do something for you. And they said, yeah, please do something for us. And at this point, I didn't even have to ask them for the baby chimp. They were so happy to get rid of him and give him to me. And I remember untying him from his ropes and giving him one big hug. And he turned in a moment from acting like a rat into a baby just like human baby with needs, demanding love and attention all the time. And I named him Future because that's what I wanted to give him by rescuing him. And then it happened. I mean, I didn't really choose it, but I turned into a father and mother to this baby chimp, demanding love and attention all the time. And here I was in the capital, I had to stay, and I had a plan in my hand. That plan was a very clear outline of how to give Future, also how to fight for the future of his species. So this young baby is the reason why I'm here today, and he is the one that was obliging me to stay and start the first wildlife law enforcement NGO, which is LAGA. LAGA, the Last Great Ape Organization, is the first wildlife law enforcement NGO, and Future's face, if you can see, is still on the logo over here, still reminding me in hard times why I do what I do. And creating LAGA as a new generation NGO meant that we wanted to do things different with a different approach. So the fight against corruption was the biggest and strongest objective, zero tolerance towards corruption. Besides this, we wanted to have a different relationship with government, not to have a soft approach with government or be a service provider to government, but actually be a force that balances the government. And we chose a measurable standard for our success or failure. We wanted to shift Cameroon from 0 wildlife prosecutions for a decade to a rate of prosecutions of 1 per week. And LAGA was also the first law enforcement NGO that we know of. In fact, law enforcement NGO is considered a contradicting term because law enforcement is the regulating role of the state and has to do with the sovereignty of a country, while NGO, by definition, is non-governmental. But that's what it was all about. We wanted to break away from the traditional role of an NGO and what NGOs can do or cannot. We wanted to prove that you can do things differently and build legitimacy for a new concept. The idea was pretty simple. We wanted to go after the big fish, the big guns, not just the small poachers. And we wanted to get them prosecuted through four efforts: investigations, operations, legal follow-up, and the media. This is what I wrote in that night when I was rescuing Future. The conditions that we had were unique. We had no office, we had no car, we had no salaries. In fact, we had nothing. We had nothing but an idea. And in that sense, I really want to send the message that it's not about money, that means and finance is not what holds conservation from developing. In our example here, this was not what it was all about. It was about trying to foster activism, finding people who have inner motivations, Cameroonians who have inner motivation to do something, rather than external motivation. People who are trying to change the realities in their country and really, genuinely want to make a difference. Here is what we do, basically. We do investigations, which means that we have undercover agents with hidden cameras and hidden recorders, and we're tracking down, climbing up the trade chain and trying to find the biggest targets out there and get evidence against them so that we can plan a sting operation and arrest them in the act with sufficient evidence. Then we have the operations unit. And in the operations unit, we take the ministry officials and the police by the hand to a sting operation that we are already planning before, and making sure that we get a good arrest and we take the dealer to the police station and channel him to the court. But in fact, we closely supervise those operations for corruption. We have very staggering statistics. 85% of all of our field operations, we are documenting bribing attempts. We can tell you who was trying to bribe who. But we are not just observers, we're not a watchdog group. We are there to fight it in the field. So 85% of all of our operations, we have to fight somebody that tried to take a bribe to make sure that the guy is not released and we are taking him to the station. The next one is the legal assistance. We had to build the first capacity in the country for treating wildlife cases in a country that never had wildlife case prosecuted. Besides this, we are in charge of developing the legal strategies. We're in charge also of representing the case in court. But again, most of our work is fighting corruption. So I was talking about 85 in the field. Imagine that in the courts, 80% of our cases, I can tell you exactly how much the judge wanted to take and how much he negotiated with the dealer to get him released. And our work is not just to check it. Our work is to fight it. So we are bodyguarding those cases every day, making sure, trying to find who is trying to corrupt who and fight it. And we do it daily until we get a good prosecution and we get the dealer in jail. And the last effort is the media effort, because law enforcement is not about getting everybody into jail. It's about creating deterrence so that people will not get into this trade to start with. And therefore, we have to push media pieces into the news, radio, TV, written press, all of them every day sending a message: this guy got arrested, or this guy got prosecuted for 2 years imprisonment. Every day, some of this is passing in Cameroon's media. So this was the approach that we had, and the results were very fast to come. After 7 months of work, again without almost any means, we got the first ever wildlife prosecution in Cameroon. And it was not just in Cameroon. In fact, it was for almost all of Central and West Africa. So from that point, we tried to take Cameroon to a stable rate of one major dealer arrested and prosecuted per week, exactly as we wanted.